So now let's begin with how to create your shared object repository and how to use it. Literally saying how to associate it to the required test. So here we need to concentrate on two things. One is creating the shared object repository, creating shared object repository, and other one is associating it or attaching that to the required test. Okay, means see here I am going to create a shared object repository. So that is some way away from your QTP. So first, let us have a look on creating a shared object repository. To creating a shared object repository, you need to have an idea on object repository manager. Object repository manager. So object repository manager is a tool to create a shared object repository file. It's a tool to create a shared object repository file. So where you can get this object repository manager? Move on to the resources. So this is your object repository manager, the first look of your object repository manager. Here we go. Almost it looks same like your object repository. Nothing much change. Object repository manager. So let me take a new test here. So in this video, we are going to see how to create a shared object repository and how to associate that to the required test. Two things we'll be seeing it here. So object repository manager, here we go. And this is your object repository. So let me open two things at once. So this is your object repository and here we go. This is object repository manager. Looks one and the same actually. No much differences. The only few changes what you can see is here in an object repository manager, we have a save option. Save. So we don't have any save option in the object repository because it will be literally saved to that respective action. Okay. So here we have a save option. Not only that, we have few other things also. If you can have a look on this, in an object repository, we have a concept called actions. Here, actions. We have an action, a drop down related to actions. Here we go. But whereas in object repository manager, it doesn't have any actions. Why? Because it is not related to any action. So object repository manager is a tool to create a shared object repository file. That what you need to know first thing. A lot of people do think that object repository manager itself has an object repository. No. Object repository manager is just a shared object repository creation tool. So by using this, we can create a shared object repository file. Shared object repository is a file which has an extension of .tsr. TSR stands for test shared repository. .tsr test. Let me write it here. Test shared repository. Okay, now let's see how to create the shared object repository file. So we have two ways to create a shared object repository file typically. The one way using object repository manager and other way exporting from local. So let's start with the first way using object repository manager. How to create? Just first move on to your resources, click on object repository manager. Now we'll get a window, object repository manager window, and just click on objects. We'll be getting add objects window, add objects window. So once we're done with the add objects window, let me open the application before that. Okay, objects, add objects, and click on the application taskbar. The same process again. Click OK, select the filter option and again click OK. Here we go. But the thing what we need to do is it will be not saved to any action, right? We are going to save it away from the QDB in some location. So simply save it as .tsr extension. So I'm saving it on my desktop as rip1 represents repository 1 dot tsr, as simple as that. So see here on the screen rep1 dot tsr. So I have saved a object repository on my desktop. Now I can use this in whatever test I want. There is no limitation for it. If I want in the same test, I can use it multiple times, or else I can take that into some other test also. Means that is a universal file. I am just storing it away from the QDP. That's it. If you want, associate and use it. If I want, I am going to associate it and use it. So whoever want in my team, they are going to associate that to their required test and they are going to use it. As simple as that. Yeah, perfect. Now, so this is one way to create a shared object repository file, and we have another way also to create a shared object repository file. Second way, that is exporting from local. Exporting from local. So let me add this information into object repository. Okay. And so here I have saved it a local object repository which is belong to this test actually. See here. Now what I am trying to do is I am going to export it. Go to file, export local object. Simple. You can export it and you can save it. I have saved it rep1 tsr. So let me take as rep1. One has been done, right? 2.tsr. So like this. If you want, we can even export them from local also. We have two mechanisms. Okay. So as if now it's good. We are happy that we have created a shared object repository file. Everything is fine. Now, so how to use it? How to associate that to a required test? Suddenly I want it. Okay, so how to use it? As I said earlier, I'm going to create a file and I'm going to give access to my team to use it. So how these team members will use that? So that's the next one is associating of shared object repository. For the association also we have two ways. Is using navigation mechanism or else one is using resources menu. So how to use a shared object repository? One is using resources menu, using associate repositories. Next one, dynamical association or code association or runtime association. So like this, we have two types of associations. Now let me write a script to log in. So just have a look on the screen. So here I have written a login script actually. Whenever I look at object repository, there is no information which is related to the login. Just have a look on this. So when I run the test, obviously it will throw an error message saying that there is no information of that object. So what I can do, I can add it to local. Yes, but that is not what I want. So I have a object, I have a repository 1.tsr where it holds the information which is related to this login, right? rep1.tsr, which is on my screen, just have created. So I need to associate that to this action, not for the test. Even we have 100 actions in this test, we need to associate that to the individual actions. Okay, so just move on to the resources. The first mechanism, associate using associate repositories. Okay, so we'll close this video here. In the next video I am going to show you how to associate the files.